Before we get into the video, if you are new to the channel, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the bell notifications. That way you're notified when a new video pops up on some of your favorite anime, manga, or whatever content. And without further ado, cue the intro. Yo, how's it going, everybody? It's the Masked Man, and today we're going to be talking about my top 5 favorite manga arcs. Now, this is a little tricky because there are certain stories that I have very highly ranked that don't necessarily follow the arc type of format, right? As to where exactly one arc begins and one ends isn't necessarily specified. With other stories, however, they kind of put it in there in big bold print. Here's the beginning of a new arc, as it is with Berserk. The only reason I'm also doing a top 5 instead of a top 10 is because my top 10 still at the current moment is a little murky, and I don't really want to have any repeats since both Vagabond and Berserk would be on the list multiple times, and I just don't want to do that. As well as the actual way that you quantify a specific arc devoid of its story, or even including the story, can be a little tricky. And as you imagine, it's already hard enough trying to rank full stories. Imagine taking just a specific arc within that story. So the way I kind of weight the value of this is I'm looking at the arc by itself. Essentially, how does the arc work as a standalone arc, but also as well as taking into consideration the context of what that arc implies for the rest of the story. So at my number 5, I have the Chimera Ant arc from Hunter x Hunter. Hunter x Hunter's Chimera Ant arc serves better in the anime, but nonetheless it still stands out in the manga. I definitely think it's worth mentioning here, as it seems to be Hunter x Hunter at its true peak, where all of the kind of pieces of the puzzle kind of collide next to each other, and we get a lot of the grandiose moments that make up Hunter x Hunter. Need I really to speak about Meruem and the brilliance behind his character, and the thematic parallel that we see between his character and Gon's? With Meruem, we really get to see one of the greatest fights in all of Hunter x Hunter, and it's just truly one of those moments where you can look at it, point to it, show it to everyone else, and say this is why you should get into the series. Now, the next pick on the list was a little bit tricky due to I never really read Monster in terms of arcs. Like I never read it and thought this is where this specific arc begins, this is where one specific arc ends, unless I completely missed something, and knowing me, I probably did. But upon further investigation and looking at some of the names for the Monster arcs, at number 4 we have the Runheim arc. Now when it comes to Monster, once the story takes place and they move to Munich is where Monster truly grabs a hook of the audience, and it seems to kick things into that second gear that will last for the next 100 so chapters. But the finale of Monster, where the confrontation between Tenma and Johan hit the climax, and Johan truly solidifies himself as one of the, if not the greatest antagonist in all of anime and manga, and where all of the central themes of Monster are put together to collide, and to really put Tenma, our protagonist of the story, to the ultimate test. What else must I say? Monster for me is one of the greatest mangas of all time, without a doubt, and I've always said it is a must-read. Naoki Urasawa's finest work, and this is where it hits its peak. Now, some people complain about the ending, as they felt a little bit of unsatisfaction towards what ends up happening. Try my best not to spoil that, but nonetheless, my argument against it would be it works thematically perfectly, especially for Tenma's character. But without a doubt, the ending part of Monster is what truly solidifies it as one of the greatest works in all of manga. It truly is a testament to how Naoki Urasawa is capable of writing a great antagonist without having the need to constantly give him a power boost in order to keep that antagonist as the dominant force within the story in order to create conflict. Now, the next one on the list is the Farmland arc, but not Vinland Saga's version, Vagabond's version. The Farmland arc in Vagabond, I've heard some sort of criticisms against it. Not necessarily criticisms, I would say. Just things like, oh, it's boring, it's a little slow-paced. But the Farmland arc in Vagabond teaches that you don't need high action all the time to write a great story. And this is truly one of the moments where Musashi as a character grows and lets go of all of his burdens that was causing him to have issues at the beginning of the story. This is when Vagabond steps into even another level of philosophy and beauty within its story. This is where some of the most beautiful panels in all of Vagabond are drawn, some of the most iconic ones as well, and that says a lot considering the quality of Vagabond's artwork. Honestly, I was debating on whether or not I wanted to make my favorite Manga Arcs video, but when I thought about the Farmland arc in Vagabond, I had to share my feelings about this. This is truly one of the peak moments in manga writing and in illustration as well. And so if you're ever considering writing a story or creating one of your own where you want to add development to a character, my suggestion would be to study this arc. It is nothing short of true brilliance and beauty, and the pacing allows you to truly grasp and enjoy all of the things that you learn through this specific moment of the story, along with Musashi. And that's the whole point of Vagabond. It's one big, philosophically beautiful, introspective journey. Makes you really think about yourself. Next one on my list is the Coalition arc from Kingdom. If you have not read Kingdom, I implore you to. It's managed to stay in my top 10, by the way, is the most that I've caught up with it. I know it's been months, but it's like a 600 chapter long story, and the chapters within Kingdom sometimes can get very long with the political talk. And well, speaking of politics, this is where the Coalition arc plays into effect. The Coalition arc is kind of like the Golden Age arc of Berserk, but if every battle was fleshed out. And it's one of those things where it's the true underdog story. If I had to point to true underdog circumstances, it would have to be the Coalition arc. But as I brought up earlier with politics, one of the things that makes the Coalition arc very intriguing is all of the politics surrounding and creating the conflict within this specific arc is absolutely brilliant and genius. It's not exactly drawn out and boring through massive exposition, as Kingdom is just one giant action-packed manga. It's quite literally War the manga. Take it out of the context of the story or even incorporate it within the context of the story. This is one of the arcs that truly expands the world building of Kingdom immensely. The Coalition arc blew the doors off of the world that was already built within Kingdom and introduces us to all of these different characters with different styles, different tactics, and amazing personalities that are intriguing. Through this massive conflict and, as I said, underdog story, for those that read Kingdom, you'll know what I mean, it keeps you intrigued and on the edge of your seat from beginning to end. This is where the protagonist of the story, Shin, is able to accomplish massive leaps and bounds due to all of this conflict. And it is brilliant. Nothing short of brilliant. So number 2, the Coalition arc. Now number 1, I'm pretty sure all of you saw this coming. Now it is up for debate, don't get me wrong, as even within the Berserk fanbase, although I do think the Golden Age arc is the is probably the most popular pick amongst the best arc in Berserk. There's also 2 others up for contention, the Conviction arc and the Millennium Falcon arc. And if I were making a top 10 manga arcs list, I'm pretty sure the Millennium Falcon, if not at least the Conviction arc, would also have to be in that list. And so even though Berserk has managed to maintain a level of immense quality throughout the years, the Golden Age as a standalone arc is absolutely brilliant. It is nothing short of superb, and again, as a standalone arc, it can fit as its own story. Think about it. Imagine if you took away everything else from Berserk, the Black Swordsman arc and everything after the Golden Age arc, and you specifically only had the Golden Age arc as a story. It would still be nothing short of top tier. I'm not saying that the other stuff isn't good either, just, yeah, the Golden Age is that good. This is the arc where all of the most important forces throughout the entire story of Berserk are all compacted into one singular portion of the story. This is where we understand why Guts is the way he is, and we also get a look at one of the greatest antagonists of all time, Griffith, and how he got to that point. Now, the arc is definitely enriched once you put it within the context of the Black Swordsman arc and then later on the Conviction arc. But truly, this is one of those arcs that's able to draw out emotions from you that you probably didn't think you had within you before. Honestly, happiness, sadness, and when the eclipse happens, you'll probably be feeling all of the above. Me and real life Ryan, we did do like an hour-long talk on the Golden Age arc by itself, and that video currently is privated, but nonetheless, the Golden Age arc is one of those things, like every other arc on this list, that if you want to look at how to write a story, these would be the arcs I would recommend to you, but the Golden Age arc is by far the one I would recommend to you the most. But yeah, let me know what your top 5 or top 10 favorite manga arcs of all time is, and as always, again, if you are new to the channel, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, turn on the bell notifications. This has been The Masked Man. Hope everyone has a blessed rest of the day, and peace.